Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter and I'm joined as always by Tim.
Hello.
This is a horror movie podcast. We get together, we talk about scary movies. It's really quite that simple. Now, I don't know exactly when this episode is going out, but yes, clearly it is December as we're recording. And Tim, what have you done to your hair there? There's something going on? There's a... There you go. Oh yes, that was very elegant the way you sort of just flick your hair back like a shampoo commercial. Anyway, so yes, it's December, the Christmas tree's up. It may be like February by the time you see this. I have no idea. So just bear that in mind.
Can you fix it in post? Just turn it into a Valentine's Day tree or something?
Hey, this is your fault. You're going on paternity leave. This is why we record episodes so far in advance. We're going to have werewolf episodes like in late April that are going to have Christmas trees in the background because you had to go and spread your seed.
Hey, I had a calling, really fulfilling that destiny.
Okay, alright. But yeah, we're actually tackling a film that just came out at the time of recording. It'll be a little bit obviously less new by the time this goes out, but we're going to talk about Freaky, which is the new film from Christopher Landon. Came from Blumhouse. Obviously, Christopher Landon directed both the first and second Happy Death Day, and this is the new film about the body swap. So if Happy Death Day was Groundhog Day but slasher movie, this movie is body swap movie but slasher movie, and even the title Freaky obviously is a reference to Freaky Friday, which is not the first example of the body swap. There's one with I can't remember what it's called, but there's one with Judge Reinhold where he swaps bodies with a kid. That came before Freaky Friday, but no one remembers that one, so everyone just thinks Freaky Friday's what started it. But yes, which is clearly okay. I think that's the first thing before we even talk about what the movie is or if we liked it or anything. I want to say something. They clearly wanted to call this Freaky Friday the 13th. And obviously that's why they held back what the title was, because we knew about this movie for a little while. They'd be talking about this untitled film coming, with the body swap premise. And I think the reason why it was untitled for so long is because they were trying to see if legally they could get away with calling it Freaky Friday the 13th. And I think maybe it's just because there's a whole Friday the 13th franchise. It was too hot.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's so stupid. But I mean, yeah, Lord knows Friday the 13th doesn't need any more legal troubles. Like,
I know.
You want to get it tied into courts for even longer, but
it's because the way it comes up at the start, because it comes up in the first scene, it's like Wednesday the 11th, and it comes up Thursday the 12th, and as soon as it came up with the second day, I'm like, okay, it's building to Friday the 13th, and I went, wait, they clearly wanted to call this Freaky Friday the 13th. That was clearly what the title was going to be, and they couldn't get away with it. So that sucks. But, hey.
That sucks because it is a good title. And it just always is kind of annoying when it's like, creativity has to, come second to like dumb legal shit. I don't know. I think the thing is like, I don't think anyone would be confusing this with Friday the 13th. Like, and and like Friday the 13th is it's a film franchise, but it is also like, like a day that people recognize as like a bad day and stuff. So I don't know. Like I see why you wouldn't want to do it, and I'm sure that they had like lawyers discuss it and think about it and whatever. But it's annoying that you can't.
I mean, obviously Freaky Friday's obviously in that title as well, so maybe it was more the Freaky Friday people who would have been a problem than Friday the 13th. Since Friday the 13th is just like a day that we have, but I wonder if the subject matter and the fact that the killer, I mean, I think the killer, in the opening when he's just been a killer, he is very discount Jason Voorhees in a lot of ways.
Sure.
It really feels that way. So I wonder if it's like, okay, if this was a slapstick comedy that had nothing to do with like a horror slasher villain, I wonder if that would be okay because it's clearly a different subject. But because there's a killer doing very Jason-y things, it's a bit more murky.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this is all pure speculation, but the way they were emphasizing it was Friday the 13th, I'm like, Freaky Friday the 13th is the perfect title for this, and it's
Yeah.
they've obviously shortened it to just Freaky just because they couldn't get away with it for some reason or another. So
Yeah.
hey ho, that's what it is. But yeah, so yeah, that's slasher movie villain swaps bodies with teenage girl, starring Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn, and we'll get into it. But I will ask the question, the time-old question. Tim, did you enjoy this movie film?
I did, and I was a little relieved because I was kind of hesitant going in. I do quite like Happy Death Day, but I really, really hated Happy Death Day to You. I just, to me, that one really pivoted onto the comedy side more, and I can be forgiven with bad horror, but I cannot forgive bad comedy. It really irks me. And, watching the trailer for this, I thought it was a good trailer, but it did seem to be, leaning heavy into comedy, so I was worried about that. But no, I was happy to say I dug it. I thought, like not every joke worked for me, but I thought there was, plenty of funny stuff, especially, coming from the two main actors. Going into this, I had heard a lot of people saying like, oh my God, Vince Vaughn is so good. He's like, he should get an Oscar for this role. Like he's like,
Not over that.
well, I think it was like, a little, I don't think people saying it that way, like, too serious, but, they're like, but, they're saying it is a very, good, like, nuanced performance and really knocked out of the park. And, I do agree with that, but honestly, I was actually more impressed with the actress who played, Missy, Catherine Newton. I actually thought like her stuff as the
Millie as well, just for the record.
Millie, yeah. Sorry, what did I say, Missy?
Yeah, Missy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Millie. Sorry. I actually thought she was really funny. Like, I actually enjoyed, more her stuff as the, psycho killer, than I did as like, Vince Vaughn as a teenage girl. But no, I think what I really liked about this, and I don't want to keep comparing it to, Happy Death Day and everything, but I like that this movie, while it is, leaning very much into comedy and everything, it still remembers that it's a horror movie. It still has the kills, the gore. It's playing off the horror tropes. Like, while you might even say it is more comedy or horror comedy or whatever, I like that it doesn't necessarily sacrifice itself for the horror. I mean, like most movies, I could have used more kills and stuff, but I do like that. It didn't shy away from having, gore and stuff in it, and some of the kills are pretty cool. So, overall, I was happy with it.
Interesting mix of opinions in there, which because I have a kind of a more mixed reaction to this film. There's things about this movie that I really like. And I think it starts off really strong. I think the opening, like 25 minutes, because there's an opening sort of just like, oh, here's the killer being a killer kind of thing, which I thought was actually quite well done as a discount Friday the 13th. It actually really made me want a Friday the 13th movie again. I'm like, damn, I want the guy in a hockey mask doing these over the top kills. And I thought the introduction to the main characters were good. It really felt like a traditional old school slasher movie, the way it was kind of making me care about the lead character, and it felt well directed. Landon knows what he's doing with the camera, so on and so on. I have to admit though, and I agreed with something you said in there, but I also very much disagree with something else. I don't think Vince Vaughn's that good in this movie. In fact, I think Vince Vaughn in this movie really lowers it quite a bit whenever we because you said that you preferred her performance as the killer. I definitely agree with that. I thought everything with her, once the body swap, and the fact that she's so quiet, because the killer up until that point had also been, Jason Voorhees-esque, super silent and just stalking around, and the comedy of her like looking at knives and like, is she going to snap and start killing people now? Like, that was really funny. I have a couple of nitpicks with that side of things. A couple of things that don't make much sense to me, but other than that, like I thought that was the far more entertaining, side of all that. I agree, yeah. I thought Vince Vaughn's performance, at times, some of the worst jokes came from him. In terms of I'm a teenage girl in a 50-year-old man's body. There's a lot of there's an extended sequence of going to the bathroom. I'll just say that, and a lot of and there was one or two things that made me snicker in there because I thought it was a nice little poignant thing that someone might point out if they'd never stood up and peed or had a penis before. But there was also other jokes where I was like, trying a bit hard with this. But the main problem I had, it all boils down to this.
Okay.
I feel like Vince Vaughn does like a really caricature impression of a very typical movie teenage girl. I don't think the performance he puts in matches the teenage girl that we were introduced to in the first 20 minutes.
Well, I agree with that, but I think, and I don't think it's necessarily, Vince Vaughn's fault, but I do think a problem is, like, we really don't see like too much range from the character, like in the beginning. Like I feel like, not that I want to spend like an hour with her, before we get to the premise, but like, I don't know, I feel like all you really get is that, she's kind of like sad and quiet, and then Vince Vaughn is very much playing like kind of a regular like teenage high school girl that's like not sad and quiet. But I mean, like I feel like you don't really you don't see that side of her before you go in. Like I don't know if I necessarily say it feels disingenuous to the character. Like I can see this character maybe like acting like that, but I feel like the movie doesn't really show us that beforehand, which is kind of a problem.
Yeah, she's very quiet, she's very reserved. She's kind of sad, and I think it does a good job of making me care about her because we get to set up a relationship with her sister and her mother, and it does like some backstory stuff, and she's very likable, and we have this shitty high school bully who gives her crap, and the whole arc of the movie is really supposed to be about her like not being like confident and not being brave, and the idea of like having some time and this huge body gives her this chance to experience some power for a change, and like that's part of the story. I think, but there's moments. There's a scene later on. I won't say about the context of the scene because we're in spoiler-free territory right now. But there's a scene later on where she says like hashtag something like 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the character we met in the first 20 minutes did not seem like she would ever say hashtag this out loud for anything.
Yeah.
I
totally get that. Yeah.
And it's not just that, but that's like the big example I can think of and point to and say no. Imagine the character in the first 20 minutes saying hashtag something. It doesn't compute.
No, I totally.
So.
No, I totally agree with that. Like one thing that I did think was kind of frustrating, but also like kind of funny because like you were talking about how like she's getting bullied and stuff, but like it's I mean obviously I get why they're doing this for the movie and stuff, but it's just one of those things where it's like, why would like everyone be so awful to this girl? Like she's such a like quiet, not really like standing out, causing trouble person, and then like but she's like constantly over the top bullied, like even by like her teacher and stuff, like and it's just like it's one of those like movie things where it's just like kind of funny where it's like, would people really be this mean to this person, especially when it's like someone that like just lost like a parent like the year before, like or like everyone is like so like mad at her, and it's obviously like it's set up for like what happens once they swap and everything. So I get why they do it, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, why is this happening?
Yeah, I think Vaughn's performance, and it may not necessarily be his fault. It may be the direction and the script who have written them to be over the top, but I think it really needs to be toned down and a bit more nuanced.
It's I think a problem with it is it's like first of all, I don't think it's like necessarily something we've never seen before, because like it felt very much like the like Jack Black and Jumanji, where it's like the joke is just constantly, hey, look, this like 50-year-old dude is acting like a 15-year-old girl. Like after a while you kind of have to get past that and kind of like do some other stuff, which I think they do. Like I think some of the funniest stuff is like when she is like realizing like how big she is and how powerful she is like in that body. Like that kind of stuff I think is more funny than, like you said, just her like saying something like a young girl would say.
But anytime she puts her or I say she technically, but you know what I mean, anytime Vince Vaughn puts his hands up with this, he's like and I'll be like, all right, stop it. Like, it's bad because it does feel like at times he is changing his voice a little bit, like he's doing like a slight impression, and I'm like, no, she's in his body, she should just have his voice, right? Just to say these things, deadpan Vince Vaughn, and like you know,
Sure.
I don't know. I had a problem with that side of the movie, so and because that became a bigger factor in the movie in the back half, I definitely felt the back half not working for me that well, which is a shame because I thought I was really going to like the movie based on the opening like 20 minutes. I thought it was doing a really good job of setting up, kind of very similar to Happy Death Day in a way where it was setting up all these things. Because in Happy Death Day, the first time Tree goes through the day, you're sort of like noticing all these little things that it's setting up that's going to be different, or she's going to notice again the second time, and it becomes these little staples that can be changed or altered as the movie goes on. And I thought this movie did a similar thing where in the opening, like, you know, 20 minutes where we're introduced to her and her family and her friends, there was all these little things where it was like, okay, that's going to be important that our friends know this about, or that they have this special handshake, or they have, or just little things like that. That it felt like it was setting up all these little breadcrumbs that were going to be used later for everything else. But yeah, I wanted to like it more than I did. I have to say.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I think there's like some pretty obvious flaws, and I don't think it's amazing by any stretch, but I think it, you know, manages to be entertaining enough, and you know, has like, you know, some decent kills and fun ideas in it. And you know, the characters I think are fairly likable. I feel like I don't know, don't really get too much time with like other characters in it. Like I never really felt like we you know, really got too much depth with like the friends characters or anything. But I mean, like, you know, like everyone's pretty likable except for like, you know, the douchebags, which are very hateable, but then, you know, they usually kind of get their comeuppance and stuff. Yeah, there's definitely things like I would have taken out of it that I think like yeah, I don't, we'll talk more like in spoilers, but I think the kind of I think maybe like the emotional like stuff they were trying to do, I don't think you really needed it like in this movie. Like I think the premise is like so, you know, outlandish, and you kind of know what you're getting into with that you can just focus on that instead of like having to have this kind of emotional arcs. But whatever. Again though, like I think overall I think it's a very like enjoyable, watchable movie. Like, you know, I didn't have a bad time watching it.
Yeah, no, it's an easy watch. I don't want to be too harsh on it because it is actually very watchable, and it's worth watching for Newton's performance, if nothing else. And she's the new Cassie Lang, so you're going to be seeing her again in Ant-Man 3.
Oh, Ant-Man. Okay, cool.
Yeah, people might have seen her before in Big Little Lies, and she's been in a couple of other things here or there. But obviously she's pretty young, so she's just kind of blossoming into the wider movie world. One thing I want to mention in spoiler free, because I think this is the to talk about spoilers. So,
sure.
So I don't mind part of this. Part of this is fine. So part of the idea here, when the switch happens, is that the serial killer doesn't like Millie's clothes, because Millie dresses in like sort of like, you know, woven cardigans and sort of dresses kind of like a, you know, a nerdy girl, whatever. And the serial killer's not feeling that, and goes to the sister's closet and like picks out this red leather jacket, and I'm like, okay, fine. For whatever reason, now that he's in a woman's body, like he fancies this red leather jacket more than, you know, any of Millie's clothes. What I didn't get, and this is really weird to me, is that she then goes to school, and we get essentially the scene from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Zeppo, where Xander's walking down the hallway and everyone's turning and going, oh my god, he's so hot, right? For some reason, when he shows up to school in her body, like, he's done something that she doesn't typically do, at least not to this extent, is that he's put on a lot of makeup, and it all looks, you know, correct. It looks like someone who knows how to put on makeup. And not that I'm sure there's serial killers who would know how to put on makeup, and there's definitely a type of character you can do that with. Vince Vaughn's serial killer in this, though, wears, like, he's the most lazy looking serial killer. He doesn't shave. You know, he's got stubble. He wears like a sort of dirty like sweater and like comfortable clothes. Like, this guy clearly has no idea how to put on mascara and lipstick. I refuse. And I'm like, this is so weird. You think it'd be the opposite. You think she would be like a normal teenage girl at first, and then once the serial killer's taken over and he has no idea or doesn't care to do any of this shit, that he would then show up to school looking more frumpy because, oh, he didn't know how to do any of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's totally fair, but I mean, I don't know. Is that really the thing you want to like quibble with? Like, I think with this kind of movie, you just buy into the premise or whatever, and I don't know. It's not really. It didn't really make me think too hard about it.
I don't know. It just stuck out to me. Like as soon as we saw her get in, and like I was like, wait, we're really doing this? She's transformed into the hot badass. Like, but why would the serial killer make himself hot? I don't understand why you would. Why you would do that? And maybe if they'd set up a character who seemed like he might, like if that was like a bit more of a nuanced character trait that he did want to explore that side of himself or something. But up until that point, Vince Vaughn's character is just this greasy, like slow killer. That's all he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't fit his character.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but I mean I don't know. It's such like a. It seems like such like a shallow character. Like you said, it's basically like a knockoff, Jason Voorhees. That I don't know. I don't think you're supposed to really spend too much time thinking about it, other than just the fact that, hey, he's like crazy and unhinged.
I think it stuck out to me so much because it feels like it's almost the exact opposite of what I think the default like idea would be. The default idea would be the opposite. It would be becomes less girly, but somehow becomes more girly. Visually, at least anyway. Obviously, I mean, it's a long time before he even speaks in her body because he's so used to being quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really my only complaint with the teenage girl side of the Switch afterwards.
Yeah, I think the makeup stuff, I'll definitely give you that. Like like I do agree. Like, all right, how the hell do you know how to put on makeup? And I mean, if you really, really, really want to get deep though, in here, I don't know if it's, playing on some type of trope of like, other serial killers, like, like Leatherface or Psycho or something that maybe might have like, attributes where they like, dress like women or something like that. Like, I don't know if it's maybe playing off something like that, but if it is trying to say something, to that extent, they obviously don't give you, any type of indication that's what they're doing.
It definitely isn't. There's nothing about that character, the Vince Vaughn character, that says that at all. He doesn't look like he washes. never. So I did not buy that he knows how to apply makeup. I just don't buy it.
Yeah. So the makeup I will give you, but I would disagree with you on the clothes though, because I think when you look at her clothes, they are like when she wakes up and she's wearing like pajamas with like dogs on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could totally see his character not wanting to wear like cutesy clothes like that.
I even started that off by saying that I got the clothes to an extent. Like, I didn't, I wasn't complaining about the clothes.
Yeah.
It was just when she showed up at school and she was all done up and like her nails were painted. Yeah. I think like I'm like, did these nails? Did he take time to do his nails before he went to school? Because I like the core idea of him being like, wait, I can walk into a high school. I can walk into a high school and start killing people. It was basically going through his head as a slasher villain. So I get like that side of it, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean,
there you go.
I know. Well, I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe I'm like just being too easy on it, but I think like something that's like obviously playing off like tropes, like this movie. It's very obviously playing off both horror tropes and like body switch tropes and stuff. Like I think as someone that as like watches these movies and understands the kind of stuff they're playing off, I don't know, I think you kind of just got to give it like a little leeway.
I thought you were going to say there, as someone who has switched bodies with
yes.
a teenage girl in the past. Let me tell you how it goes. Yeah, I mean, it's not like a huge. It's not a huge deal, but it's something that really stuck out to me. Just when they sort of revealed her look, I was like, "Wait, why did he do all this?" Like, if they'd given me like a montage of him trying and failing, and then eventually getting it right or something, because that might have been a funny scene.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, or like, I don't know, the mother or sister comes in and she has like makeup all over their face, and they're like, here, let me do that for you. But no, I totally get you. And I mean, I definitely have stuff like that with sometimes you watch a movie and like just like some like kind of weird thing just sticks out at you. Like so I know what you're saying.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll take this. We'll take this time to thank our Patreon producers at the time of recording. We are recording this in advance if the Christmas tree didn't give that away. But thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Board Now, Al Tribesman, Christopher Moy, Brett Williams, and David Brown. They are Patreon producers, which means they are $20 or more at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. But you can support us over there, of course, for as little as $1 per month, and that $1 will get you access to the back catalogue of all the exclusive bonus episodes that we've done over the last couple of years. Those are on pause for new episodes right now while Tim's on paternity leave, but they'll be back in the spring, sometime late spring. So look forward to those coming back. But there's bonuses for other shows, and at the $5 tier you still get early access to all the episodes by a day. So go and have a look and see if you're interested in helping keeping all the content coming. And of course, remember that if you can't do that, don't feel too bad. You can hit the like button, which does help us a lot on YouTube, or rate the podcast on iTunes 5 stars and give us a review. So thank you kindly. So from this point on, full spoilers for Freaky Friday the 13th. So yeah, I really dug the opening like 5-minute, 10-minute like prologue scene, which is just the four teenagers at like the girl's house alone, no parents, talking about the serial killer legend.
Yeah, what I liked about this is that it was definitely like cliche, but it's not that over the top cliche. I feel like you get a lot of times when a movie is like, trying to parody like a Friday the 13th thing, because a lot of times they really overdo it, and like, it'll just be like someone being like, hey, let's go have unprotected sex and like smoke illegal drugs, like obviously like they're doing that stuff, but they're not like being so show and tell about it, like they're not like winking to the camera with it. Like it did feel more like, oh no, we are trying to do like an actual like kind of Friday the 13th scene or something.
It felt more like a genuine scene from one of those movies, which is why I said it kind of put me in the mood to get another Friday the 13th, because I thought the kills especially were actually kind of fun. There you have the first guy has like
bottle kill.
The bottle gets shoved down his neck, and then he sort of like breaks it off, so you see some broken glass come through his throat, and I'm like, oh, that was actually a really cool little kill. And then the second person just gets their head slammed in a toilet seat repeatedly, and it, but it goes long enough that it was actually quite a bit of blood, and there's like some smushing, and it looks quite good. And then breaking a tennis racket in half and sticking both sides in the sides of the head, so it looks like the old the arrow through the head, like sort of like gimmick hat you'd put on, but it's like a tennis racket, but you actually did just break it in half and go that was good. And
that
oh, sorry. There you go. I'll make my next point.
I was just gonna say, and I think Vince Vaughn is like, I mostly think of him like from like comedies and stuff, but you kind of forget he is like a huge dude, so he really like looks like very intimidating, and it's not unlike when you see someone that's playing Jason or Michael Myers or something, like you do believe that this big massive body can do these things. Which I think actually like is pretty funny later on, like when he is in a Millie's body, but kind of like forgets he doesn't have that like strength and build anymore. I think a lot of that stuff is funny.
Yeah, he's 6'5". I just looked it up. I was curious.
Jesus, yeah. And like it's not like he's like super strong, but just like when you're just that tall and like as long as you're not like super skinny, like you just.
Honestly, the only complaint I have about the serial killer is that I do think the mask is like just this sort of like antique mask, which is basically a holeless hockey mask, right? It's basically just a flat hockey mask without the holes. But I will say that the actual costume, it's not like a lot of thought goes into the Jason costume or the Michael costume, but Jason typically get like a sort of like dirty or ripped shirt or something. It looks like a bit more designed. It does kind of feel like in this, Vince Vaughn just said, no, I'm showing up in my sweatpants and that's what I'm wearing. Like it feels like so unbelievably low key that I'm like, okay, you could have put a little bit of panache on the outfit, just a little bit.
Like part of it to me kind of feels like less like and maybe this is just because we see more of him when the like body is swapped and stuff, but like I don't know, it kind of just felt like more like a crazy homeless guy than like a you know, like a mythic Jason kind of figure or whatever.
Yeah, that was the only problem. Was just give him like a sort of dirty like Jason-esque shirt or something. I don't know. Just to make it a bit more than just Vince Vaughn rolled out of bed wearing that day. So that's just what they committed to for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But oddly, there's actually a really weird thing in the first bit that I like. So the first two kills are like the one couple, and the other couple are off having sex. And we cut to them having sex. Like, the girl pushes the guy away and just sort of buttons up, and he sort of says, "Hey, what about me?" And she's like, "Ah, you were taking too long." And it's not that funny a joke, but for some reason, I found it really refreshing that the complaint in the horror movie is that the guy was taking too long instead of finishing too quick. I don't know why, but that actually felt oddly refreshing. It was like...
It's a nice...
okay.
It's a nice subversion, because, you've seen that joke how many times where, like, the guy finishes in 5 seconds, so, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem a little mean. Like, she has been a bit mean on her part, but at the same time, It's like, oh, you know what? This is different than normal.
Yeah.
So I'll take it. And if it did upset you, she gets stabbed. She probably has the worst death out of the four, just because it's a really simple, just sort of stabbing to the wall. Whereas the other three get these really wacky, fun kills. You know, so... speaking of kills, so I'll just skip ahead to some of the other ones. So there's the bully girl... who, this is when she switched bodies, right? So this is serial killers inside Millie's body, and she kind of lures the bully to the locker room under the guise of giving gossip about, because everyone knows she was attacked. Like, the killer almost got her, right? And because when he stabs her with this blade that he stole from the antiques, because they're the house at the start, the dad's like this antiques collector, and it's this magic blade, whatever, right? But this is all just gimmicky. This is the MacGuffin thing. Anyway, so can you explain to me exactly what this device is that he uses to cryogenically freeze the bully?
I had the same exact thing. I mean, granted, it's been a while now since I've been in school, so I'm sure.
Since you've been in the girls' locker room at high school, yes.
Right, of course. So I mean, I'm sure they probably have more technological advances than we've had, but like. I very much doubt that most schools, especially like public schools, have what I'm assuming is some type of cryo like muscle relaxer. That's my guess.
Is that what it is? Because this is the thing. My two thoughts when this happened. I mean, obviously it's funny they're doing the Jason X kill where because when the other person opens the door and the body falls out, it shatters like the T-1000. Like, this is how frozen she gets. And the two thoughts I had, well, maybe even three, is one, this feels far too expensive for a school. Especially since point two, that it gets to the point where she's not just like been frozen to death. She's not just hypothermic and like died. She's frozen to the point where she's shattering. That is so unbelievably like industry level standards of like cooling that I don't understand why it's in high school. And then point three, and perhaps the most important one, which you've had a guess at, is what the hell is this thing even for? I don't even know what it is. Why is this like super freezer thing in the girls' locker room in a high school? I don't understand what it is.
Yeah, I had no idea whatsoever either. And again, that was my best bet, is that it's like something to do with like muscles or something for like the athletes before like the playing and something. But like you said though, even if that's what it is,
it feels too expensive for a high school.
Well, not even that, but like I think there has to be some type of safety measure in it where you can't accidentally turn it up to freeze level.
It's the same whenever you get a kill in a movie where someone's in a sauna and they turn the sauna. I'm like, no, surely there's a safety setting in this to stop you from melting someone alive. I mean, hell, that temperature, is it even built to go that high? Why would it even have a setting that goes up there?
Yeah, like my my parents had like this little mini sauna thing. Like it's basically kind of like maybe the size of like a closet that you basically just sit in, and it would like put like fill with steam. But like it, like I think you could maybe get it like a little over 100 degrees. But that's it. Like, yeah, in these horror movies, they always like turn it up to like 300, where it's like, no, that they would not, like, they would have so many safety stuff in place to, otherwise, like, the companies would just get sued at the ass.
Yeah, because when the door was first opened and I saw the light coming from, because I didn't see like anything that implied it was like a cold thing. I was kind of like, I mean, this is still kind of weird for high school to have this, but I thought, is this like a tanning booth? Like, did they go in and
That's what I thought at first. Yeah.
But then of course when they open it and she falls out and like smashes like ice, I'm like, okay, it's like a freezer in the locker room.
So I mean, I definitely had a ton of questions on this scene, but put those aside, I thought it was still like a cool kill.
Your wife, as someone who should have been in the girls' locker room at some point in high school, did she have any insight on this?
No, not at all. No.
Not at all. No. Okay, it's curious.
No, like we were both like baffled by it, but
I love the idea that this is because the reason why I asked that, I wasn't expecting a yes, but I was just like, imagine if this was something that just as men we just didn't like. This is every girl's
just women.
Every girl's locker room has one of these things, and we're like, what is this?
Well, it helps with that time of the month.
What, you go in and cryogenically freeze your eggs and what? Oh man, it baffled me. But the smashing was fun enough. Although I did enjoy the teacher who kind of bullies her. So who's played by Alan Ruck, who you might recognize. He was on Spin City. He was in Speed, of all things, but he was much younger, of course. He was recently in season 1 of The Exorcist, which is a few years ago now.
Oh yeah.
So he's like the
unusually mean teacher.
Yeah, he's like the tech teacher, or what would you call it? You'd call it woodshop.
A woodshop.
That's what you'd call it. Yeah. But he it's like they're making dog houses or whatever earlier, but. And he's kind of mean. I mean, he's not mean in like a super bully way. It's more just he's been really harsh because she's been late enough times. He's like, if you applied yourself, but you've let us down again, Miss Minnie.
Yeah, and again, it's like just so strange. Because one, I don't think like a teacher would be like that specifically mean, but like also, again, like to a student that just had a tragedy, even if it was a year ago, I feel like the teachers would know that and would be like a little sympathetic, to her. And again, it's not like she is a class clown that's always, acting up and like getting in trouble. Like, she seems like a person that's just quiet and kind of stays out of the way,
What I thought was interesting about the actual kill scene though is, because the teacher's a dick to him in her body earlier on when she's actually in class with everyone else, which has a really weird moment. So there's this guy that she has a crush on, the real Millie that is, and he gets a cut in his finger, and he as her sucks the blood off his finger, and it's like this like super erotic moment, and I'm like, I mean, we never got the impression that he actually likes to drink blood before, like, so it felt like a really weird like moment just to give us the like, oh, that was like why she acted all sexy now, she's like sucking his finger, like, but anyway, well, I'm saving the plot for after. I'm just going through the kills just now because to have some structure to this madness that we call show. But I mean, the kill itself is fun in the sense that it's it's a wood shop, so there's a buzzsaw, and but the fun thing that comes out of this from a mechanics idea is that this is like him realizing that he's not in his usual body, so he doesn't have the strength he's used to. So when he tries to like push the teacher initially onto the buzzsaw table, the teacher fights back, and like she can't really, or he can't do much about it. It's kind of an interesting thing where he's like, this body's useless. Like, he starts to realize that he doesn't have the power. He can lull people into a false sense of security. He can sneak them into places. He can trick them. He can lure guys into dangerous situations. But he's realizing that he can't just like grab someone by the neck and lift them up like he used to. So that's an interesting, thing to explore, I think, with his side of things and in her body.
Yeah, and I think it was I actually thought this was like pretty funny, and then like I think even like early on we kind of see like he's like kind of I think used to intimidating people just by looking at him, just like the scene when he's Millie first sees him and he's kind of like standing far away in the fog and stuff, and then like in this woodshop scene it seems like he's trying to do a similar thing where he's being very slow and like looking at the teacher, but instead of being intimidated, the teacher's just like, what are you doing? And then I do think it's kind of funny that like on the one hand the teacher like he doesn't seem to shy away from like having to beat her up, but he is also like at the same time he is like going like, all right, this is self-defense, like I mean you are attacking me just so you know, like I'm not. But then like
there's a weird sort of tightrope here that's being walked where
yeah,
the first push he doesn't really do anything. He's just like, okay, you're in trouble now, Missy. You just, and I'm not saying Missy is her name because you said that earlier. I'm just saying I'm Missy in the, someone saying, oh, you're in trouble now, Missy. But like, so when she first tries to push him and it doesn't work, she's like, you just try to push me, like you're in trouble now, like what the hell, right? But then like she actively tries to like stab him and push him to a buzzsaw, and eventually he like puts he's like, all right, oh come on now. He's like, and I'm like, okay, and he's saying self-defense. Once he does fight back and sort of pushes her down though, he does like kick her a couple of times in the stomach, which is a bit like, okay, now you're kicking her while she's down. This is, you've crossed the line here. It's not self-defense anymore.
Yeah, like at one point it's like, all right, you're getting like some weird satisfaction from this.
Yeah, because after he kicks her, he sort of does is like, yeah, you've always been a little bitch, Melanie.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay, this guy's working out some pent up rage. He's gonna throw a bad divorce or something.
Yeah, there's something else going on here. Like that, I feel like that there just has to be a reason why he hates her so much. And it I was like,
I was gonna say that he does kill him. Sorry, with the buzzsaw and pushes him all because it stabs him in the neck first, so he's kind of weak, and then pushes him up the buzzsaw. So and the camera's kind of like from the head down, so we sort of see the split happening, table height. So it's a fun kill.
Yeah, and again to give the movie credit, like it is very bloody. Like they didn't like, this is definitely R-rated. Like they didn't like kind of.
Do you know what? I almost feel that Landon regretted or felt bad that people, because I love Happy Death Day, but even I said the one thing that's maybe missing from Happy Death Day is the R-rated kills, like the actual good kills. Yeah. So I wonder if that was something that he felt was like, oh, I wish I'd kind of done that in those movies, so I'm going to like really make a point of doing it here.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But it feels, and I could have used a few more. There's a couple more towards the end when there's like because obviously there's a party towards the end. Homecoming. It's like a homecoming gets cancelled, so the kids all throw their own homecoming at an abandoned like warehouse or something like that. Mill, yeah, it was a mill. You're right, it was a mill.
Which like somehow they're able to. One thing that's kind of nuts is like this all takes place in like one day, and like they were able to throw together like this insane party.
It's not even just that. Like school's already finished and they're hanging out at like an arcade. It's like 4 p.m, 5 p.m. Oh hey, we can have a party tonight at the mill, and we cut there like a few hours later, and it's been like decorated with lights and there's like a DJ, and I'm like, these kids are resourceful. Like what's going on? This is the opposite. This is the opposite of the adults in the original My Bloody Valentine who have so much trouble putting a party together despite the fact that they're adults. Go on.
Yeah, so this is one thing that I did have a kind of a problem with because I was enjoying all of this like Millie killing people at school and everything, but I feel like after school kind of lets out yeah, we are done with the kills for quite a bit. And
it goes away.
Like, yeah, and I'm not saying that like there isn't stuff I enjoyed in this time, like because again, like the characters are likable, so there was some, there's fun stuff going on, but it did just kind of feel like, all right, I'm just waiting for the horror to kind of kick back up again. Like I want to, like once they kind of trap Millie and stuff, it's like, all right, this isn't as much as what I wanted.
Yeah, they trap Millie, and and there is some fun stuff here. We'll get to when we go through that, but when we get back to the kills, like there's actually like a really dark scene where there's one of the jocks earlier on that she kind of really insulted because like, they all made fun of her. They all called her like I can't remember what they said to her, but they basically said that she wasn't worth screwing, repeatedly early on when they were bullying her and throwing things at her, and saying that maybe we could have sex with her. She has a paper bag over her head, things like that.
Oh yeah, she was she was the mascot for her high school. So she was like a beaver, and then someone said like, hey, it's the one beaver I wouldn't touch. But
obviously once the transformation happens, they're all kind of into her, and the one guy kind of grabs her ass, and as I say, well, it's her ass because it's her body, but it's obviously it's Vaughn who's in there, and he leans over And it's almost like, and I do get the one thing I do appreciate about, again, it's her side of it's better, and that her performance is that it starts off very much like she's walking around quiet, but as the movie goes on, she starts to sort of like see the potential in interacting a bit, and that's part of like the skill she can use now. And she sort of leans over and says something. You're making this pussy drier than sandpaper or something like really insults him. But like, he takes it personally because later on he tries to like confront her at the party. I say, and again, her being him and her body.
Don't forget during that scene too, she literally says, "I can't wait to kill you."
Oh, she does. She does.
Yeah,
you're right. But later on, and clearly Vince Vaughn's like, okay, I fancy a kill, so yeah, okay, I'll smell at him, and he'll lead me off to a dark private place. But this isn't really dark. Where when he takes her into the private place, like two of his friends are waiting, and they basically want they want a gangbanger. Like that's the premise of this scene is that they want to team up.
And I think what's like especially very dark about it is they don't specifically say it, I think, but you kind of get the feeling that she doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where obviously in the context of the scene, we know she's about to murder all three of them, and we're going to enjoy her murder. And that's why the things like the teacher's a dick, the bully that she kills earlier is a dick. Everyone she kills when she switched bodies is all people that we actually want to see die. They're all bad people. They're all people who are awful in some way or another. And these three, the most awful of all, because it very much looks like they were about to commit serious sexual assault. So
yeah,
Oh, sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to describe the kills, but you want to go.
Well, no, I mean, just to kind of tack on to that, it does feel like, like earlier on with that, like Popular Girl and the teacher, they felt like over the top in kind of a silly way, and like you were still excited for them to get killed, but yeah, these people, they feel like, I don't know, it almost feels like too like realistic and dark, like it's not like a fun. And then I also would say kind of the same thing for the kind of like the fourth member of the team that gets killed like a little bit after him, that tries to come on to the friend Josh, which like also gets like kind of like weird and dark. Like
it's because I think the thing with the teacher is because we were laughing about it, and if you take a step back and say, okay, we're watching this middle-aged man kick from his perspective a teenage girl in the stomach, that sounds quite dark, but there is kind of a weird absurd humor to it, because the way he kind of like gets like so like, oh, I'm ready to fight now. Like the second she's ready to start, like the reason, as soon as he realizes it's physical, he immediately puts up his fist like he's like, oh, it's time for a fight. I've been waiting for this. But it's not in a way where, it's not in this weird abusive way. It's like, oh yeah, I was waiting to, like, yeah, let's go mano a mano. It actually comes off as a really silly, over the top, funny thing. Despite where if some teacher did this in real life to even if the girl was trying to assault him, it would be too much. It would be kind of dark and whatever. But yeah, this comes across as a bit more sort of real worldy dark. But she obviously kills them, stabs one in the throat, decapitates one. And they all die brutally.
Chainsaw.
And the last one's a chainsaw up the crotch. Yeah. So, the deaths are good. I mean, there's probably maybe a bit of a dry spell. One, from about the halfway point till this ending, or this party scene. There's a bit of a dry spell there that could have used another kill.
Dry as sandwood.
Sandpaper was the
sandpaper.
Yes. You could tell that Jock really took that to heart, because the first thing he said to her at the party was, "I will make anyone's pussy dry." He really had to emphasize that. He was like, "Oh, I don't do that." Ego was hurt. So, but yeah, so to go back and sort of do the actual plot side of things, the actual switch and all that. Like I said, I really enjoy when she wakes up and it's him in her body, and looking around very stoically, staring at the knife in the kitchen. Like, and I love the idea that she almost kills the sister, but the mum just sort of takes the knife out of her hand, and it becomes this almost like, I could have almost done like half an hour of her trying to kill people, but something keeps foiling because no one's expecting her to be a serial killer. They're just accidentally stopping it from happening. I could have had a whole half hour of that comedy. That was funny to me.
I agree.
Yeah. But what
I love, like, anytime she had like interaction with someone, like the mother just kind of like looking at her and be like, is everything okay? Like, I feel so bad. I made you like your favorite. And then just, yeah, her having this like her like eyes are just wide and she's just staring at him like, again, it's very similar to, the way we kind of see like, yeah, these like serial killers kind of staring at them like you're not even human and stuff. And then, but then, everyone just continuing to treat her like normal, like, okay, come on, let's go get ready.
Yeah, I think the argument in the movie probably is that, okay, she was stabbed by a serial killer last night.
Right.
So we'll cut her some slack and let her act weird for a bit.
Yeah, totally.
But obviously the main plot really comes from the other side of it, which is Vince Vaughn waking up. So Millie is in Vince Vaughn's body, and like right away there's like, again, like some of the comedy with this works, some of it doesn't. Like I actually kind of, so this homeless guy asks him if he's got drugs.
Yeah.
And she says no. And then says, oh, by the way, and she's like, hey, do I look like a teenage girl to you? And then I thought it was funny that the guy's like, oh, you were lying, you do have drugs. I want to feel like a teenage girl. I want to feel like a teenage girl. That made me laugh. And then I thought the end of the scene kind of ruined it, where he just had to yell out, I'll suck your dick.
Yeah.
I was like, that wasn't that funny.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it was, like it was much funnier to have him be like, oh, like, hey, what kind of drug makes you feel like a teenage girl? I want to feel like a teenage girl. Like that is like, that's like a little more clever, kind of unexpected and funny. And then someone just like, I mean, it's 2020, like someone just yelling I'll suck your dick is not like, like I don't even want to say it's like, oh, it's like problematic or something. It's just like, it's just not funny. Like it's
no, I don't necessarily think it's problematic either. It's not. I don't think it's it's just crude humor to the point that it doesn't really, like, I'm not saying that
needed.
I'm not saying there's no context in which the lines of someone saying they'll suck your dick can't be funny. I'm sure there's a context where that line can hit and can have an effect, but this was just someone offering it for drugs. It wasn't, there was no humor to this.
I think at the very least, like, I mean, I don't know if this would save it, but like, I don't know if there was maybe something more where like her reacting to it and like suddenly realizing she had a dick and being like, surprised by that, or being like, wait, my what? Like, I don't know, like, not that it necessarily would save it, but maybe at least it would give it more something to do than to just be like,
oh sure, no,
hey, look, a guy is yelling,
You're right. No, see if it said it and then like Vince Vaughn turned around and went, wait, my what? Like that might have made it funny. Yeah, that might have made it funny. Which that was actually one of the things that I was maybe not worried about, but like I was like, okay, how are they going to handle this serial killer in a teenage girl's body? Are they going to do anything weird with it? And honestly, they don't really. Like the only thing that happens, and it doesn't feel like a pervy thing at all, is that when she's first sort of standing up and he's looking down, there is a moment where he kind of like touches the chest, but it's not like a pervy, oh, I'm feeling boobs way. It's more of a, I've got boobs. Like it's more of a like a shock thing. It's not. It never comes across as weird or pervy. There's far more jokes from the other side where Millie and Vince Vaughn's body's going, oh, I've got a dick, oh, I've got balls, oh, like, and some of it's okay, some of it's not. I did think it was weird though, because part of the thing is that he smells really bad when she first wakes up. So she breaks into the school and goes to the showers, and then I've seen a couple of scenes later, she tries to like communicate with her friends, and they obviously get scared because there's a sketch all over the news of who the killer looks like. So they know it's the killer, they're running away from her, and there's a whole bit of comedy where they're fighting back and try to hit him and blah blah blah, and one of them kicks her in the balls, and she says, "Oh, I've got balls," and I was like, "But you had a shower, you didn't know it, you didn't look down." When you were in the shower, you didn't clean that part. I thought it was a bit weird.
I mean, I think it's not like a super funny line. Like I feel like, I don't know. There's just something else you could have done. Like she should know she has balls, but like instead the revelation should be how much it hurts. Like she should be like, that's what getting kicked in the balls feels like. Like something like that, instead of just being like, oh, I have balls.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that it has to happen to her, so that later on when she's like the switch back and she's fighting back, she has the idea to kick him in the butt. Not that it's like a super like like you have to set up the idea that someone knows to kick a serial killer in the balls. Everyone might try that, but it gave it a bit of impact at the end when she's like, "Oh, I realize maybe what your weakness is," and kicks him in the balls.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It just felt weird after the shower scene. Like, what you just occurred that just occurred to you, especially since so there's a whole scene after they've like realized and she's proven that she's her by like reciting things and doing the dance and the secret handshake and whatever else.
And, yeah.
There's a scene where they're in the bathroom and she's in the cubicle peeing. And I part of this was amusing, part of it wasn't. The parts that I thought were amusing is when she's just looking down, going, peeing standing up's not so bad. Like I kind of like that sort of shrugging mentality of, this isn't so bad. And I also liked when she was done, she sort of looked down at the toilet roll and went, "Do I wipe?" Like I kind of I like that moment. That was like a really like funny little touch to that. But in the same scene though, there's also a moment where she's literally swinging it but side to side, and you can hear the smacking as if she's like having fun with it. I'm like, what is this? Stop it.
Yeah, it's a bit much. One thing that I did think was kind of a maybe a little more subtler, like kind of funny touch was like earlier she's in the like woman's stall is what we call them, not cubicles. But there was like some graffiti or something like on the wall, and like in the woman's bathroom I think it just says like something like "love hurts" or whatever, like, but it's like mostly very clean. And then I like when she's in the men's bathroom, it's just all like gross stuff and like penises and everything,
including one thing that says her name, and she's like a cock gobbler, I think was the insult.
I think so, yeah.
But it was written on the. Yes, I'm so sorry you're offended by my use of the word cubicle for the bathroom stall, but yes, that's.
It's just weird. I've never heard that before. Like I don't know, it's strange.
Sorry. Some things are different.
It makes sense. I'm not disputing it. I never heard it referred that way.
But yeah, so like the awkward jokes in terms of that stuff kind of disappear for a bit, and it's mostly just like him acting over the top a little bit for some of the stuff. But they realize that they have 24 hours until the change is permanent, so they have to get the dagger back, which is sitting in police evidence, and they have to have him stab her so that they'll switch back, yada yada yada. So they have to capture him and her body. They have to capture the killer, and this is okay. I mean, because they don't actually capture him till after they have the whole chase, because obviously someone eventually sees the killer walking around, and it's her in his body. So they have to sort of do a bit of a chase. The sister, because our sister's a cop, we didn't even mention that. Our big sister's one of the cops in the town. And there's a bit of a chase that leads to kind of a scene. I mean, one of the things we've not really talked about yet is the family life and the idea that her mother's a bit of an alcoholic because of the death of her father. And her sister is kind of like, has problems with her mother. And it kind of sets all this stuff up. I don't know how much of it was necessarily needed. I appreciated the attempt, though, because one of the things that Happy Death Day was actually very good at was using a little bit of drama like this to make the character arc be a bit more impactful. I think the thing here is that they do so little with the sort of the family rebonding and like the relationships being repaired that I actually think the other like arc of the movie, which is just her realizing that she can be confident, is enough. That's enough of an emotional arc to make the movie work. The family stuff feels a bit more extraneous, and I don't necessarily feel like it gets much of a resolution outside of the fact that they all work together at the end to beat the killer. But I mean, it's fairly minimal.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this. It felt pretty misplaced to me. Like, I don't want to say it was necessarily like handled poorly, but again, in a movie that's like a very, like working on like a lot of comedy stuff. To me, I just don't think you really need this kind of real life emotional bent to it. I think especially in the beginning it kind of hurts it because like we're saying how like the way Millie is acting in Vince Vaughn's body doesn't seem like the way the character we meet in the beginning, and I think a lot of it is because in the beginning, like we're just kind of seeing her like being sad about her mom and learning about her dad passing away and everything, where like I feel like, yeah, if you just leave that stuff out, then you could have just seen her as a normal girl and got maybe more of a sense of her personality, so it would make more sense when she's in the body. So I don't know, it's not like the worst stuff in the world, but to me I just feel like I probably didn't need this.
Yeah. Well, I think you do have to have her be kind of like the shy girl, because I think the part that does work
Yeah.
about the arc is the idea that she is not confident, she does get bullied, and
Right,
you know,
right.
her time as in this the killer body does give her this confidence, and does, because I think the important part of the movie, because I was almost mad when I thought it was ending until it gave us like an extra like 5-10 minutes extra at the end where the killer comes after
Sure.
them, because
Mhm.
I thought, no, you need to have her like beat the killer as herself, because otherwise
Right,
the
right,
arc's
right.
not complete. She has to be able to fight back and sort of do it on her own in her own body, and
Yeah.
that kind of completes the story. So I was glad they did that, because I think it needed that. I think because I think I mostly like the last like 15 minutes as well. I think where I'm a bit mixed on it
Sure.
is the, you know, a lot of the middle chunk, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But but there's a scene anyway. The reason why I was bringing up the family stuff is because there's a scene where they're hiding in a department store where her mum
Oh, yeah.
works, and
Mhm.
she ends up having like a meaningful conversation with her mum in Vince Vaughn's body, like through the changing rooms door, and
Mhm.
it's kind of this weird thing where I get why they wanted to do the joke where the mum wants to date this man, but
Mhm.
it is weird because they especially go out of their way for it to point out like I know it's weird that, you know, I haven't even seen your face yet, but I know I've enjoyed talking to you for the last 5 minutes, that, you know, maybe we could get a cup of coffee or something, and
I did laugh at her reaction when she
or
said that.
when
Well,
she's just like, oh god no.
yeah, she's like, "Ooh, God, no!" Like, I think that was kind of funny.
That was a little bit funny because it comes off as really mean, obviously, from the other perspective, but
Especially like because they're having like such like a nice conversation, and then to immediately just be like, "Ew."
yeah, it's a very deep
funny.
conversation about loss, because I mean, obviously they're both talking about the same person, but she's like, oh yeah, I lost my father, because, you know, she's talking about losing her husband, and it's this deep conversation about loss and getting over it, and you know, struggling to survive and be strong. And I was like, oh, would you like to, like, maybe get a drink and like talk about this some more? It's like, oh god no. Don't be ridiculous. And it takes like
And I
it takes us some blubbering to get to the excuse. Oh, I'm married. I'm a married man. Yeah, that's it. I'm married. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go away. Yeah.
But no, I think that is funny though, because I feel like that is something you see like in um like those kind of like I don't know if I just want to say like body switch movies, but like I don't know, like maybe not necessarily like in something like in Freaky Friday, but like any of those movies where like, you know, someone has to to dress up like a woman or something, like Big Mama's House, you know, there's always like that one character that like you know, is into the, you know,
Oh,
person
sure.
that's dressed up. So it kind of felt like that trope to me, which I think, yeah, it's
Well,
kind of like a funny thing to
It's a
make
lot.
fun of.
It's a little that trope. I think it's also a little like not just body swap movies, but I think any movie where a character, not even just for comedy reasons, like you're saying, like, you know, Big Mama's House, but like any type of movie where there's a character in disguise or whatever. But you get these like conversations where someone will open up about something related to the relationship without realizing they're talking to the you know, the main,
Oh,
the main
right, yeah.
character. Like, I feel like that's a bit of a trope in a lot of movies. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what they were doing here. And again, it's one of those
And
things where I don't know if all the comedy necessarily lands. 'Cause some of it feels a little bit forced in places, but occasionally
Yes,
there'll be
yeah.
a joke that's quite funny too. One of the running
Yeah,
things is that there's the boy that she has the crush on, who
Okay.
they end up having to kidnap him because he sees,
Mhm.
you know, the Vince Vaughn face, and he'll go to the cops, so they have to like kidnap him so he doesn't like ruin things.
Mm.
But they also capture the killer at the arcade, and they've got you know, the killer tied up to a chair, and they're in Josh's house, and when he wakes up, they have to kind of convince him that you know that he's her, and he
Mhm.
basically is convinced because she recites this poem that she wrote and put in his locker anonymously, and this is what convinces him. The reason why I bring this up, of course, is the scene that
I
is going
think,
to.
did you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh no, I don't know if you had the same like thing that I was thinking with that is like, well, I mean, this could also be like a crazy man that snuck into the school and like
Yeah.
put that note in his locker. It doesn't like he didn't really necessarily like maybe he had an inkling it was her before, but like yeah. Also, I wouldn't say that's like stone cold proof that
Yeah.
that is who. It
How,
is.
so how did you feel about the scene then where they get talking in the car that leads to the kiss? Like,
I thought it was kind of funny. Like I guess maybe I kind of admire that they actually went for it because I kept expecting it to start going that way and then like Vince Vaughn was gonna lean in and he was gonna be like, oh, let's do this later or something. So I kind of I don't know, I guess it was unexpected that he was the one that was like, hey, isn't it weird that I kind of want to kiss you right now? Like I'm like I guess this is a very accepting guy. Like
yeah, it's a bit odd because I felt like it felt a little forced to me for the sake of the ridiculous comedy of this teenage boy trying to kiss Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
And you're right, in a way it is kind of like really weirdly accepting of him, but it is odd that there's not even a moment of hesitation or a moment of like, it feels like he's just into it and he's like, you know what, I want to kiss you right now, I'm just going to do it. Like and it's not like he's trying to say anything about his character, he just goes for it, and I was like, okay, I don't know, I feel like that those are the moments where it's leading into the comedy a bit too much, where it's trying to be really funny by having this teenage boy like wanting to kiss Vince Vaughn, but it's I don't know, I kind of like just felt a little like odd about the whole thing. I was like, that felt weird. It felt weird that he was so ready and willing without even a moment of going, it's kind of weird. I mean, he does say that. He does say it's weird that I want to kiss you right now, but he's so eager that it just doesn't feel natural, I guess. I don't know. It's odd.
I feel like it's like I don't think it's like you couldn't do that scene, but I feel like it would have had to have like led up to it more. I think like what you're saying, yeah, it's like before they even have like a deep meaningful conversation, he's already like, hey, can I come into the back seat? Like he's like pretty like like from the start just like ready to go. Like I think maybe you could have done it if they're already sitting next to each other and maybe they're having like a conversation where it's like, I'm worried I might not get my body back, and like who could ever love me like this, and I never even had my first kiss. Like if they're doing stuff like that, it seems like a more natural progression, but he's just pretty much right away like, okay.
I could see that working. I think the other thing that would make it work if you wanted to do the kiss and have it feel like it was earned would be to sort of like, so because I feel like that's the other thing is that he's only known that she's been body swapped for like an hour at this point. It's kind of like, if anything, he should still be having doubts that this has really happened because it's such a surreal thing. See if he spent the whole movie with the character and by like like by the time we get to third act that they've been through so much shit together and like one of them might die and it's like, shit, I'm just going to kiss you, like it's the only chance I'm going to get,
right,
body be damned. Like that'd be something. It is to feel a bit weird. No, I mean, obviously, there's not every possibility the kid's, bisexual or whatever. Like there's every chance that that's the case, but it never indicates that is what's going on. Though it's sort of just played for. He just doesn't care. It's like he knows it's her, so he's just going to go for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just I don't know. It felt a bit in the foresight. I did think it was a bit weird though, because this whole thing here, they're waiting outside the police station while the friend. The girl, she goes in to like get the blade, and she like has to talk the main character's big sister out of leaving, and she and Josh are clearly like aiding what looks like the serial killer right now. And at the end of the movie, when everything's resolved and they've switched bodies back and they think they've killed the killer, like it's weird that like no one's held responsible or like no one questions the friends that they were helping the killer. Like the sister just seems to forget about it and drop it.
Oh yeah, and also I'm sure like all these dead bodies, I'm sure that they're gonna assume that it's the Blissfield butcher, but also they're probably gonna have to do some preliminary tests, and they're gonna like realize like, hey, his fingerprints aren't on these weapons, and like, hey, guess what? Like Millie's, DNA is around here or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
or even just something as simple as, no, the killer had to be this height because of the direction of the blood or whatever. Like, there's a lot of reasons why the killings aren't going to match up with his body. Which I'm like, okay. I know I complained a lot about some of the makeup stuff earlier. I'm okay to accept this part though, in terms of like the killings not matching the body, because I'll let that go, because the movie gets far too complex if we have to then explain why she's not going to be the one going to prison for doing all these killings. It would just be a depressing, shitty ending if we had to do that. But it is weird how much the sister sees with the other two kids helping this serial killer, and then never even asks a question about it after the resolution at the party. It's very odd.
Yeah. I mean, again, I know that this wouldn't be as entertaining a movie, but like part of me did wonder, like, okay, why did you not go to like the sister right away? And then like, you know, I'm sure there's like enough she could tell from her past to make like the sister believe, you know, that she did swap bodies, you know, similar to how she proved it to her friends and stuff. And then, you know, once you get the sister on board, you know, it's easy enough to get the, you know, knife from evidence and stuff. But
yeah.
I mean, again, I obviously understand that that's not the movie.
Yeah, and plus for getting around having a police officer be in on the job,
Right.
It probably makes it a bit easier. It would be my guess. Yeah. But before we move on to the last section, we should go back and talk a little bit because Millie breaks out. You know, killer in Millie's body breaks out of confinement at Josh's house because she's left behind there with Josh, and she's tied up, and he's watching Bravo eating Cheetos for whatever reason. And I actually did kind of like the joke of this scene, which is that his mum comes with, because she's like a flight attendant, and she comes back and she's like, "Hey, why is your friend Millie sitting in a chair with like a gag and like, you know, tied to the chair?" And he tries to sort of like play it off as role playing, and I actually thought some of the dialogue here was pretty funny. The main part that I liked was when he tries to say it's a role playing thing, and the mom just goes, "Role playing? Isn't that like a sex thing?" And I kind of like the part that made me laugh is that throughout all this, you know, the killer in Millie's body is like either nodding or like shaking her head to like respond. So when she said, "Isn't that like a sex thing?" and it cuts to you know, Millie and the killer, she just goes, "Mm-hmm." she really emphasizes like, "Yeah, it's a sex thing," right? Which is obviously, and Josh is obviously very gay. Like he's like, you know, like very outspokenly gay from the start of the movie. So the mom's confused and is like, "Okay, mom, I don't know how to break this to you, but I'm straight." And I did think it was a little bit funny that because the joke of the gay person trying to break it to the parent that they're straight to flip the usual like coming out the closet is overdone. I did kind of like that the mom's like, "Josh, honey, you're many things, but one of them is not straight."
Yeah.
That was some amusement there.
Yeah, I thought that reaction was pretty funny. I
think the core setup there that I just let, you know, to get the point of that is that the idea that they're having to treat her is dangerous, but anyone who doesn't know that this is the killer is going to then think that they're, because I almost think there should have been like a scene where they all had to be in front of other people where the killer couldn't just kill them immediately, but they all had to go along and pretend that they were friends still or something. Like I feel like there was more you could have done with that, where they had to pretend to still be like friends with each other for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it feels like there's some missed opportunities, and I did think like the scene was kind of funny. I do think a bit of a problem that I have, and it's not just this scene, but I think a lot of the jokes in the movies is I do think they go on a bit too long. I do think
that's fair.
Like there was a bit too much back and forth, like the idea of like being like, what is this? Oh yeah, it's role playing, it's sex, blah blah. Like it just feels like you could have cut like, you know, like at least one or two back and forths on that, and it would have been a little tighter. And there was a couple of instances like that in the movie where I'm just like, okay, we get it. Like, tighten this up.
That's a big problem with a lot of modern comedy, though. Is that I mean, it's not as bad in this, agree. But the example I always bring up is the new Ghostbusters, where there's a couple of scenes in that movie where this joke would be really funny if it ended like 30 seconds ago, but it just kept going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get off on a tangent on like modern comedy, but I do feel like Judd Apatow kind of like ruined comedy, like where, like, you know, like not to say he's not funny and stuff, but it's just like you need to learn to cut a scene. Like not every improv back and forth dialogue is like funny for like 5 minutes. Like show some restraint. But anyway, though, one thing I do think though that I liked was yeah, the killer in Millie's body, kind of like learning how to use that to her advantage. Like she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have the advantage of like strength and stuff and everything, but um like she can use stuff like when they first see her at the school, and like they're kind of afraid, like, oh no, what is she gonna do? But then like all she does is start screaming and go, it's the Blissfield Butcher, and then it's like, oh okay, yeah, she's like using that to her advantage, like
Yeah.
so everyone's
Yeah,
gonna
that's really the
go towards
moment.
him.
That's the moment where he first realizes how to use it. I think is
Yeah.
when he sees his own body and just screams. And because I always like the moment where so she's screaming so the police who are in the school investigating like come running, but as soon as like they leave her line of sight or his line of sight, he just immediately stops screaming and the face goes completely serious again. And it's like, oh okay,
Exactly.
like that visual is really good. And more of that, I think if there's one thing that I would have done is that while the kills that we do get are good, it's very clear that all the main characters are safe. It's very clear that the only people who are
Sure.
going to die are the bullies, the ones who are unlikable, and the characters at the start. And I think it really would have benefited, and maybe it would have, like, I guess you want a happier ending, but I feel like one or two of the people she likes should have died too. There should have been a couple of likable deaths, I think, to really hit home the danger. It feels a little bit like it's lacking bite because the main characters are safe, but it is what it is. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
I could see like I don't know the I feel like I wouldn't want the friends to die, but like I think there was maybe a few moments where I was like wondering like, all right, is Josh possibly gonna get killed or hit, or maybe even if not him, like his mom or something. But um yeah, like I could have seen maybe like the sister dying or something like that.
yeah, yeah, or even the mom potentially.
Yeah.
You could go down that route. So, but like I said earlier, though, this movie wouldn't have been complete just by getting her body back, which happens. There's a little fake out as well where they think they're too late, but there was I didn't need the flashback to it. They could have just said out loud what it was, but there's a line earlier on where back when she's still in her body, right at the start of the movie, where Booker, the love interest, he says, "Oh, this trick to get in class on time, I set all my watches like 5 minutes slow or ahead rather." So that I'll always make it on time. I'll think I'm running late, but I never am. And so they realize, oh wait, we're still at 5 minutes. It's not been 24 hours. It's still 5 minutes. So there's like a little fake out, but we do the classic, Halloween style thing where he breaks out the ambulance after because they shoot him and it's like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just say though, with that fake out scene, what really annoyed me about this is, I feel like it would have been more effective if the watch beeped like maybe like a little bit before they had actually like got her to the ground or something, because it's literally like his hand is raised in the air with the knife and then it beeps and then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, it's too late. It's like, you don't know the exact properties of this mystical knife. Like, are you really gonna stop like because you're a second off or something? Like, just do it. Yeah, I don't know. I thought, I understand, like, hey, let's have this fake out, and it's a clever callback and everything.
Yeah. Also,
but
the question I'd have as well: do you actually know to the second what
Right,
time you were stabbed
right.
at? Like, because I mean, you might actually have like an extra 2 minutes just because you weren't that accurate in the first place.
No, I totally agree, and it's yeah. So I think that could have been handled better, and then also I don't know if this bugged you like it did me, but like this time when they stab each other, they instantly switch back, but like last time it seemed like they had to sleep.
Do you know? Yeah, that's the thing. So the start of the movie when he stabs her, they're still in their own bodies until they go to sleep and they wake up in the morning and they've switched. And I actually thought to myself during this scene, I bet it's instant at the end when they switch back. I knew they were going to change this. Now, admittedly, I think the idea is that because they're switching back, it's instant because it's it's a 24-hour ritual. It has to be 24 hours before it's like permanent. But because they're snapping back to their own bodies, it's instant. It's a mechanical thing that is a little cheap just so it can be instant at the end. But I think they really wanted them to wake up in the other bodies and not just be switched instantly at the start, because then it'd be like, oh well, they're on the field now and he's taken to the police station in her body, and it wouldn't be as funny. So I'll forgive them it because I get why they made that choice to make it have the delay at the start.
Fair.
So I'll give them that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but like I said at the end, you had to have her defeat the killer in her own body to sort of like conclude the arc of her like finding some strength and like, you know, getting a taste of the strength and say, and you know, like, no, strength isn't just about physical size, it's about, you know, what's inside, and you can fight back and stand up for yourself. So it's a pretty typical scene where he comes to the house and breaks in and, you know, fights her a bit. And it is notable that he talks here. It's the only time in the movie that he talks in his own body, is in this final scene.
That's true, yeah.
But, you know, everyone's sort of fighting back. It's so weird, though, that the mum and the sister clearly hear him talk about, like, the bodies being switched. Because they're
You're
constantly...
gonna have questions.
Yeah, they're constantly talking about what it was like to be each other in this scene as he's trying to kill her.
Well, like, it sounds kind of, like, gross, but, like, the way he says it is he's like, I've been inside your body, and it just makes it sound like they, you know, had, like, a relationship or something, like,
yeah. Yeah, what's the mother thinking when she hears that? Like, oh,
yeah,
oh
like,
no!
oh, God.
What happened to my baby girl? But of course, they all fight back, and she, you know, gets to kill him to the point where she, like, it's basically stakes him through the heart like a vampire. It's like a table leg that goes all the way through. I was like, damn, is she auditioning for the Buffy reboot? It feels like she's feels like she's, you know, going for it.
Well, you know, I've talked before about how you know, there's that trope in like vampire movies. Whenever someone gets knocked against like a wooden piece of furniture, it always conveniently breaks into stakes. I think this is the first time I've seen it in a non-vampire movie, though.
Yeah, no, that really chuckled. She had more of a snappy one-liner though afterward. If she's in that Buffy reboot
For sure.
audition, she has to have a snappy one-liner afterwards. I mean, I do think Catherine Newton is the best part of the movie.
Without a doubt,
both as herself and as, well, not, you know, not herself, but, you know, as the Millie and as the killer,
the butcher.
Yeah. And then, you know, I think the script is decent in places, but a little bit too far with the comedy in other places. I think the direction is solid, and the setup is really good, but there's definitely some, I don't know. I don't think the Vince Vaughn performance as Hurt is all that convincing, and that took me out of it a little bit. And there's a little bit of a lull in the kills. And like I say, I think maybe the biggest disappointment is, you know, the shoehorned in family stuff, which feels a bit extraneous. The arc of her getting confident and fighting up and standing up for herself, that's enough of an emotional arc to make the movie have a bit of a backbone. So that's cool. But I think the missed opportunity though is we were talking about the air hostess scene, you know, the Josh's mum, and the idea of them having to like not be in cahoots with the killer at any point, but have to like pretend in some way and like watch the killer try to like essentially as a teenager try to like fight against them using teenage stuff and using that and like playing with that a little bit more could have been more fun. But it's not a bad watch by any means. There's definitely stuff in there to enjoy. Right. I thought I was really going to like it. I thought I was going to like be up almost at Happy Death Day levels from the opening like 20 minutes. And by the end it was a bit more less than that. And I know you're going to disagree with this. I think I like this a little bit less than Happy Death Day 2. And I know you disagree with that. Because you didn't like that movie.
Yeah, I mean, we heavily disagreed on that movie. Like, I mean, I hate to be like too negative, but I mean, that's one movie whenever I think about that, I'm like, yeah, that movie really bothered me. And again, it's and it's not necessarily because there was like too much comedy in that movie, but it's just the comedy that was there didn't work for me. Where I would say not all the comedy in this movie worked for me, but there was definitely more that worked than didn't. And a lot of the stuff that didn't work, it's not like it was too far off. It's just like, okay, yeah, maybe it just need a little tightening up, or maybe like a second pass on like a punchline or something. You know, it wasn't like horrible to me. But I mean, I don't think we're too far off. Like I do agree. I think this is a, you know, pretty flawed movie, but not you know, most of the stuff I feel like are mostly small quibbles with maybe a few things here and there. They're like, yeah, that probably should have been changed or whatever. But I mean, overall, I think it's like, you know, still a pretty fun watch. You know, it's a fun premise with especially Catherine Newton gets a lot out of it. I mean, I guess that's the biggest flaw is that there's not enough of her. Like, it feels like it's a lot of her in the beginning, and then that middle part, it's more about Vince Vaughn. Which I don't have as much of a problem with his performance, but I do agree with what you're saying. It doesn't feel as much as what we know about the character, and it feels like, oh, let's just do a generic high school girl, whatever. Um, but at the same time, it doesn't bug me that too much, and I don't think everything he does is funny, but I think there are definitely moments, yeah, that were enjoyable. I don't know if this bothered you as much as it did me though, but like, because you're talking about like his outfit and stuff before,
Mm-hmm.
like once he does shower and everything, and he's on the run, like. There's so many times where I was like, "Oh my god! Like, why has he not tried to change clothes? Why has he not gotten like a jacket or something somewhere where he can be a little more incognito?" Like, cause yeah, he is pretty much just always running around like in that same outfit and everything.
Yeah.
Except for when he has the mask, which I don't that I don't really understand what the point of that was. I think it's more suspicious to see someone like running around in like a weird mask.
Well, to say
Whatever.
mask, it's not his killer mask. Yeah, at one point they get
Right,
him
right,
like
right, right.
a like one of those like
I think
crappy rubber like dead president masks, and
yeah,
he's walking around in
it,
that, which just looks way more suspicious than anything else.
yeah,
But
it's it's very strange.
very odd.
One thing I will point out, that so like yeah, there's that scene where they're like after school or whatever, they're at the, I guess it's like an arcade, um but they have something I've never seen before, and now I'm like, oh my god, I hope these are real because I want to go to one. But it was like a mini golf thing, but it was inside like a haunted house, which, oh man, I love mini golf, and I love like, those like haunted house scare attractions. So if there's like a thing that combines both of those, I'd really like love to go to that.
That seems pretty believable. There's like a Halloween themed mini golf somewhere that's.
I'd be there in a second if I could find one near me. It looked really fun. I haven't been mini golfing in a long time. I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I haven't been mini golfing in probably a decade at this point. It's been a while. It used to be like a
Yeah.
staple of like birthdays or whatever. Like I go mini golf and then go and get something to eat or get a drink or whatever. But
When a couple of years ago for my bachelor party, when me and my friends were driving up to, we rented this house for the weekend, and on our way up there, we passed by this like this arcade, um, and we were just like, hey, we don't really have anything planned. Like, want to just pull in here and like see what's up, and we pulled in there, and it was probably like 12 or 1 o'clock, and this group of like grown men, and we were like, hey, can we play a laser tag? And then uh I'd actually never played laser tag before, so like the first time I played it when I was like, when I get married, like when I was 32 probably, uh and but that was pretty fun.
I did play laser tag like once or twice as a kid. Uh,
Yeah.
Barely remember it though, if I'm honest. But hey,
You know what, I actually, my wife always wants to do this more than I do, because I kind of want to do it, but I've never done paintball. Always, it looks kind of fun, but I don't know. Does it? It always seems like it might hurt though. I don't want to get like uh hurt too much.
time doesn't make it hurt.
It's true. I
Put it on
don't
the
like pain.
put it on the box. I think that's us though. We've talked a long time about
Yeah.
this movie, Timmy. And yeah, okay, there was like a 2 minute tangent there at the end about paintball, laser tag, and mini golf, but most of that was very much on topic. So I think it's finally time to rate Freaky. So what are you giving
um, I'm kind of bouncing between a 6.5 and a 7. I think I'll be generous and I'll give the 7. Yeah, I think yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it. I think there's definitely a lot of charm there in the performances, and it's nice that it's an actual R-rated movie, so you do still get some kills and some gore and stuff here and there. There's I think most of all it just feels like it needed some tightening up, because what is it, like probably like an hour 40 something.
it? Yeah, it's hour 42. Yeah.
Okay. Which like I feel like not that you necessarily needed like cut off a good chunk, but I just feel like some of the jokes, maybe some of the beats or something could have gone down a bit. Just make it more of a tight movie. But again, it's not like unenjoyable. It's not like hard to watch or whatever. So yeah, I'll go with the 7, I guess.
Yeah, I'm probably going to come in a little bit lower, obviously. Probably go with a 6 out of 10 for me. I think it's watchable. I think there's definitely things to like. I think there's more potential than is achieved. But there's definitely things that are worth seeing it for. And I'm still very much looking forward to seeing what Christopher Landon does next, because it definitely felt like his movie. It definitely felt like, I can definitely feel this coming from Happy Death Day. Like, this definitely feels like the same person did this. So, I hope I'm more universally praising the next one, but yeah, so a bit of a mixed bag for me, for all the reasons kind of stated, but not a terrible time by any means. So 6 out of 10.
Sure.
So there you go. that is the movie. You can, of course, if you've made it this far into the review, you can let us know on YouTube, but by putting the words Freaky Friday the 13th, that's what you're putting in the comments, because damn it, this was clearly the title of the movie. So do that. Time you're going to pose for the thumbnail. So here we go.
Good.
3, 2, 1, pose. Is that meant to be a feminine look or something, or?
I have no idea.
It's just the way you sort of fixed your hair to the side before you went there. Do you know this already has 189 user reviews on IMDb, and it's new?
Well, I think it'd been out for. I mean, technically, it had a theater release a couple of weeks ago. Lord knows how many people actually went to the theater to see it.
True.
But,
yeah.
But I think it's been on like VOD for at least maybe like a week or two. I don't know.
Would you agree with Chris in Miami?
Okay.
Whose review is titled, it's 5 out of 10, made for Disney TV quality with 30 seconds of really adult material shoved in.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that. It does feel like a movie, and it at times feels like a sort of old school slasher movie at the start. So I wouldn't get that. And I'll just point out another review. It's 1 out of 10 from Jonas Atmosphera. That's a long name you've got there, buddy. From the 3rd of December. It's 1 out of 10, and the title is simply one word. It just says cheapy. Cheapy, yes. Apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
I don't. I guess like, this is not someone who watches a lot of horror. Maybe he watched it as a Vince Vaughn fan, expecting something with a budget, but like for a horror movie, this was actually a reasonably budgeted thing. This did not look like a direct-to-video movie, I don't think.
It's not like there was like big special effects set pieces though that looked horrible. Like it's not like VGI or like they CGI'd Vince Vaughn or something. Like I guess there's that like those CGI sequences where like the field turns into an altar, but even that I didn't think looked bad.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention, but yeah, when the stabbing's happening, there's like a visual of them, like the world changes around them for like a second. It's not a big, it's whatever. Yeah, and it has like a star in it, and even Catherine Newton's kind of an up and coming star. It doesn't feel like, I wouldn't think of this as cheapy at all. This has a, there's also a 2.
I think that there's.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I do think there are plenty of criticisms you can make about the movie, but yeah, these kind of seem like weird ones that I would disagree with.
I'll just randomly fire off some other ones. 2 out of 10. I can't believe the scriptwriter got paid for this. 5 out of 10. Only go if you've got a movie offer. 2 out of 10. Thank God for the fast forward button. 1 out of 10. Are you kidding me?
You know what? Like, the thing I always think about these kind of reviews are like, do they know what the movie's about before they watch it? Because I feel like if you know the premise and you watch the trailer, I think it delivers on what you would expect from that. So it's weird to me that people are like, are you kidding me? I can't believe it. Like, well, what did you expect?
Yeah, I don't know. Was there a movie called Hot Chick? Because there's one here that says Friday the 13th meets Hot Chick. And I don't...
Oh yeah, I mean, Hot Chick was the movie starring Rob Schneider, and
Well,
was it?
I'm glad I've not seen it then. Just from that description.
I I mean, so I mean, it's essentially same premise, but it's what's kind of funny is I did actually think about this because in that movie I forget what the magical item is that makes them switch bodies, but it's like um, it might even be Rachel McAdams. I don't know. That is like the titular hot chick, but basically like uh, she switches bodies with Rob Schneider, so it's like Rob Schneider, running around and like, girls' clothes and being like, "Hey, it's me," But it kind of did remind me of that just because in that movie, like similar to how like Vince Vaughn is very like gross and dirty, in this movie, like it's also kind of similar to that where like Rob Schneider's character is also kind of like like just like a gross, dirty dude.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just wrap this off with a different opinion than mine. 8 out of 10 from Mary McFarland. Vince Vaughn totally mic dropped this thing. Okay. Those are user reviews on IMDb, which is a section I've just started doing. Which, given the order of the way we recorded this, the last time you got that was at Christmas. So, enjoy. But there you go. That is Freaky. So, yes, thank you very much for joining us. You can, of course, like and subscribe. Very important to do that. Get us on Twitter at ScreamsMidnight. And, of course, we mentioned patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the show and everything we do here. As well as all the shows we have on MailFuzz TV. But obviously you're there for Screams After Midnight, first and foremost. But that is Freaky. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.